2, 3.
Hey there. So let's talk about fourplexes. For decades, Canadians pretty much only saw either single-family homes or big apartment or condo buildings going up. That's because local laws were written in a way that only allowed for those types of buildings. Mid-sized buildings, like fourplexes, just didn't get built as much. Well, that's changing. We're making it so you can now build 4 units on the same plot of land that used to be just for 1 unit. That's called 4 units as of right. We've signed deals with all the big cities across Canada. Now we're going even bigger. We've put money down for provinces and territories. $5 billion to build the roads, public transit, and water infrastructure they need, with a catch. To get the money, they're going to have to change the way they do things, including, you guessed it, by legalizing 4 units as of right. Because we need to change the way homes are built across this country.
Michelle, I wanted to talk to you about something that we hear constantly, and it's been pushed for, I don't know, the better part of 5 years, the tree planting scheme of the federal Liberals. And it has bled down to the municipal level. You guys had a really great video that just came out the other day. Tell us what we need to know about the tree planting. I'm going to call it a scam. I'm not sure you're going to call it that, but it is maybe a scheme.
Well, I think it must be called a scam by now because, as most people know, there's this Housing Transition Accelerator Fund that requires blanket rezoning of any city if you accept money from it. And blanket rezoning means that in many places where there are beautiful mature trees, they'll just be ripped out and a larger facility will be placed there, a 4-plex, 8-plex, 16-plex. So the thing is that your municipality and you people who live on that property or near it have paid thousands of dollars over the years for planting and urban canopy maintenance by city crews, right? So you've paid for these very nice mature trees, which are now being torn down because of the Housing Accelerator Fund and the blanket rezoning. But never fear, because there's a new tree planting program with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, just announced, I think it was May 15th, by Jonathan Wilkinson, the minister for this wonderful initiative. And they're going to give money to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. They're going to create, I believe it's 2,000 jobs, and they're going to plant 1.2 million trees. Now, just so you know, many average tree planters plant about 3,000 trees a day. So that seems to be quite a few people to plant that many trees. And also, well, now you get to pay again to plant new trees that the same government is causing to have been ripped down. And the thing is, you know, mature trees take decades to grow. So you're really just tearing down these beautiful living investments from your community to build probably not well-made and ugly housing that will ruin your neighborhood. But now the government is granting more money to municipalities to plant more trees and create these new jobs, which undoubtedly will become full-time and pensionable. So.
Of course. Now, something particular is happening in Calgary, but it's happening across the province. The federal government has tried to go around the provincial government to give money to the municipalities to inject these green schemes into their affordable housing plans. And I think this all sort of ties in together where if you have an uncooperative provincial government with the federal government's green agenda, the federal government is doing their best to just go around the provincial governments altogether. And I think people really have to pay closer attention to what happens at the municipal level. As a small c conservative, we all sort of get tied up in like paying attention to what the provincial government's doing and paying attention to what the federal government's doing. But some of these green schemes are the most expensive at the municipal level when it comes to housing, when it comes to these tree programs, when it comes to the multi-billion dollars, tens of billions of dollars in Calgary's green plan. Well, they don't have water right now. I really think recycling, let's not forget the scam of recycling. I'm all for not throwing out garbage that we don't need to throw out, but storing plastic containers and sea cans somewhere until we figure out what to do with it, or shipping it to the developing world doesn't seem like a great idea. What do you think about the federal government going around the provincial government to talk to progressive mayors to make life more expensive for residents?
Well, I'd say that they've actually been doing that for quite some time, but people haven't really noticed. Again, because it's always been shrouded in the, sort of halo of this is a green initiative and we're doing something good for mankind. And probably one of the more activist groups would be the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. At one point, they claimed that they had installed 4,000 wind turbines, or they'd been responsible for initiatives to install 4,000 wind turbines. One of the professional engineers that we've worked with in the past said that in Alberta anyway, they anticipate that it costs $1 million a megawatt to integrate a wind turbine into the system. So you can imagine how much money that actually costs you. And it's not anything that people should be cheering about. So, for instance, this idea of going around the province, when Jason Kenney was premier and he announced a very large sum for the Alberta Inquiry, I think it was about $30 million originally, and it was cut back to $3 million. I'm not too sure on the big figure. But about a week after that, if you check the record, the federal government, came up with $44 million, which was split equally between Edmonton and Calgary for eco operations. I think it might have gone to Alberta Eco Trust. I'm not exactly sure who it went to, but that's an example of where the provincial government was trying to protect our industry and our incomes, revenues for the province, and the federal government immediately upped the ante by funding these NGOs, some of which are also foreign funded, by the way. But, they dropped a big chunk of cash on them, presumably to fight back. So it's been going on for a long, long time. The thing is, at the municipal level, it's very easy for activists to appear before council, to ingratiate themselves to councillors because they know them. They live in the same community. So, maybe they've been in the same Rotary Club for years or gone to the same university. So it's quite easy to get in. Whereas for provincial and federal, you generally have to have some kind of lobby registry, and it's a more formal process, more difficult. So yeah, it's happening a lot. And if you read the blueprint for housing, which was presented by a large group of sort of NGO and types, and Mark Carney was one of the leads on it. In it, he represented himself as being part of Canada 2020. He's actually associated with Brookfield, and Brookfield has a huge real estate division. But anyway, and a renewables division. But anyway, in that, they were advocating that the federal government should actually expropriate land. They're referencing, I think it was the IRPC. Can't remember the name of that group. They were suggesting that the federal government should expropriate land along transit lines and then build dense housing there using climate resilient methods. Now, in Alberta, the provincial government has generally ignored or pushed back on the net zero 2030 building requirements because it would add a huge burden to the cost of building, and there's no particular benefit in terms of climate or anything. So this is a way of forcing cities to build net zero climate resilient housing without ever having the province agree to do that.